I'm Eliana Lacap on behalf of Miss Dina Ventura, and welcome to Perfect, where we explore the heart of human connection, love, and meaningful relationships. Now, today we dive into the world of relationships and self discovery. Our guest today is a relationship and life coach based in the Philippines, helping individuals and couples navigate love, communication, and life decisions with clarity and compassion. Please welcome to Perfect Miss Alicia Serrano. Hello po, Miss Alicia. Hello.
Hi everyone. Hi
Hap-
Eliana.
Happy Valentine's. Happy Advent
Happy
Valentine's.
Valentine's.
Yes.
Yes.
Tomorrow na ang Valentine. Sana lahat ay may ka-date. Ay. Naway
I hope
lahat.
so.
Right, diba? Okay, so warm up tayo. Alicia, can you tell us how you first got into relationship coaching and what inspired you to guide others in love and personal growth?
That's a really good question. I honestly just saw this position online and I thought that it was really interesting because my background is in clinical psych. So I saw it while I was studying for my master's degree, and I've always been interested in romance, in couples. I love reading romance stories, shipping things together. That's always been my background growing up. So I thought it was a perfect combination of things that I just enjoy reading about, but also getting to put into practice the things that I'm learning in psychology. So I gave it a shot and I've been doing it for almost 6 years now. So it all worked out.
Who doesn't love a good romance book, right?
I know, mga
Right?
bitter. Joke
Yeah.
lang.
Ganun talaga. Okay, so let's go to our first question. So love languages have become a popular topic in understanding relationships. So how can someone discover their love language and why does it matter in building stronger connections?
Mm. A lot of times, your love language would be what you request the most. Is it time with your partner? Do you want to talk with your partner? Do you ask for trips, gifts from your partner? It's also related to what you like to do for your partner. So sometimes what we like to do and what we like to receive in love can be the same, it can be different. But usually, a lot of people start out with it being the same. So it's good to take a look at ano ba yung gusto mong ginagawa, ano ba yung gusto mong nare-receive. It's also helpful to take a look at what does your partner do or not do that would hurt you. So that also means that kung may nami-miss out sila, it means that there's a need that you're not experiencing that's important to you. So that would also give you an idea on what your love language would be. So those are, I guess, where people could start with when it comes to identifying their love language. Now, for why it's important or why it matters in building stronger relationships, it love languages would be the easiest way you express your love. And it's also the way that your partner understands your love and how you take care of them. So when you speak your partner's love language, mag-register yun agad sa kanila and they would feel taken care of. It also guides you towards loving your partner more effectively, and similarly, it guides your partner, it teaches your partner how to love you effectively as well by letting them know what your love language is. So it makes it easier for people. So wala nang hoops or translations na kailangan mangyari.
Oh, that's actually ano. Yeah, because knowing one's love language is a different kind of way of saying na I know you on a deeper level, right? Parang ganun
Yes,
yan.
absolutely.
Okay. So, are you aware about the SWS survey about cheating where we have an article asking that what's your cheating language? What is your take on that thing?
Oh, I'm not actually familiar about this article. Could you tell me a little bit more about what it's about?
Article that according to an SWS survey that 27, correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, 27% of Filipinos are aware of cheating, the different forms of cheating like
Oh, okay.
emotional, financial cheating, a lot of different kinds of cheating. So, what do you think is your
Mm-mm.
take on the cheating language thing?
Mm. Cheating language. like how other people would cheat on other people back? Ganun ba yun?
They're aware that there's different types of cheating. So it can be
I
emotionally,
see.
it can be
Okay.
financial, something like that, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think it's helpful for people to know what kind of behaviors are not okay in a relationship. So I think it's helpful to have that. Okay, so I'm seeing the infograph as well. I think it's really helpful because then people would have an idea on what boundaries are, and it helps people be better partners and want better for themselves. So kunyari kung may nakita sila na, okay, this counts as cheating pala, that could be a conversation to be had with their partner so that they're not doing that and they're making their partners feel more loved and cared for.
And there's also a notion na if they cheat, don't take them back. Right? Dapat 'di ba ganon? But sometimes people have the strong urge or love for another person that they still take them back. Why do you think that happens, no? Kasi it's a
Mm.
question that I think has been boggling in my head a little bit.
That makes sense. Yeah. A lot of people are just so attached to their partners. And especially, let's say you've been together for 10 years. Nakakahinayang yun. I-let go for a lot of people, even if there's a lot of hurt that's there. So a lot of it would be that attachment. Sometimes it's repairable, or some people would want to give it a shot because they are deeply emotionally connected with that person. So it really depends on the couple. It depends on the extent of the harm and what happened. So some people would just want to make the relationship work out. Baka mababa yung tolerance nila for certain behaviors. And meanwhile, for other people, they're willing to risk starting over in a relationship and letting go of the person that hurt them. So it depends on how attached you are to a person and how scary it is for you to start a new relationship. Because for a lot of people, they're thinking, oh, I have to look for another person again and I have to start over. So that can be very, very scary. So some people would prefer staying in a relationship where cheating has already happened because they don't want to venture into that anymore.
Do you think that is valid na may ganung panghihinayang yung person na should they avoid that kind of thinking?
Which one? Yung magsistay in a relationship?
Yeah, parang magsistay pa sila or like they can take them back.
I think when you decide to stay in a relationship, it should come from a genuine positive desire to build something good rather than fear. Because I don't think fear is a good motivator to stay in a relationship, period, not just in romantic relationships. So if you're gonna stay with your partner who cheated on you, it should be because you trust your connection, you trust them to be better instead of, kasi wala na mahanap, or ang hassle kasi mag-start ng dating process ulit. So it should be that choice. Dapat hindi ka nalilimit because of fear. It's something that you are actively pursuing because of a positive, meaningful goal. So I think if you're staying in a relationship, that should be the motivator.
Okay, yeah. I mean I see that tama naman yeah. So okay, so Valentine's does not only revolve on romantic relationships. So moving on, so family often shapes how we approach love. How does family
Mm-mm.
dynamics influence the way we choose our partners or handle relationships?
We repeat in our romantic relationships the patterns we learn in our family. So things like what's being normalized in our family, would it be healthy communication? Would it be toxic patterns? So we don't really know what's normal until we venture outside our families or we talk about things with other people. So we often bring what we know into the relationships we have outside of the family setting. So apart from that, it also creates the blueprint of what we think a relationship is. So for example, if a child sees their parents have dinner together all the time, they would come to expect na ganun yung relationships. I should be doing this with my partner. And in contrast to that, kung laging nag-aaway yung parents, then someone would think that, oh, that's something that would happen in a relationship talaga. This is how you communicate to your partners in the future. So what we see would be what we would assume the world, that's how the world works. That's how we would assume things to be. So in relation to that, sometimes we would also seek to fix in our romantic relationships the stories we have with their families. So for example, if someone grew up neglected in their family, they can seek out or want to have more attentive partners because that's something that they didn't get to experience at home. Or on the other hand, sometimes people unintentionally repeat or confirm the painful stories or narratives that they learned at home. So for example, very common yung pag-controlling your parents, nagiging attracted sila sa mga controlling partners because that's familiar to them. That's what they believe is the norm. Again, we go back to that point of what's being normalized. So there are levels to it. Sometimes it's something we're aware of seeking something out mindfully. Sometimes it's not something that we're aware of, na na-attract lang tayo sa mga familiar patterns rin. So those are the major ways that I find family dynamics would shape our romantic relationships.
Yeah, actually, that really plays, I feel like, a major part. Kasi what you really see is how parents mo really shapes how you see love, no? It's the
Mm-mm.
way they, basta they're dynamic, and then sometimes you can also pinpoint what you want and what you don't want in a
Yes,
relationship,
absolutely.
'di ba?
Mm-mm.
So, yeah. Okay. So, okay, moving on. So, long distance relationships are more common and very a controversial type of relationship today. So, what are some strategies couples can use to maintain the closeness and trust despite the miles and miles apart?
Mm. Planning beforehand. Hindi yung magugulat na lang na, oo nga, ngayon na yung start ng no, I think couples should know when they're gonna be apart and when they're going to be together again. So a lot of planning is going to make that relationship be a lot better for everyone involved. And that means your communication has to work overtime because you're not there physically with them. So you have to know what kind of strategies work with your partner, what's effective, what's not. This is unique for every couple. So, for example, some couples really thrive with seeing each other or at least calling each other every night. Some couples would be burnt out by that. So, the couple should know what works for them and they should be open to trying other strategies as well because what can work for when they're together might not work for a long distance context. So I think it's knowing what works, but also being open to trying things out if that doesn't work in a different context now. But also, I think there's a lot of tools available now that didn't exist before. So, for example, video calling, streaming a movie together, sending each other gifts via delivery. I think people should explore the options they have to make their partners feel cared for, to express their affection, their love, even when there is distance between them. And also having reminders of each other, I think really helps sustain the relationship when people are far apart. So, for example, matching jewelry, matching clothes, keeping your partner's fragrance or perfume could also make you feel still connected with them even when they're away. So, it's figuring out again how you would still feel close to each other and what would make communication sustainable with the distance.
LDR can work if they choose to make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because the generation they would always say that, oh, LDR relationships won't work because the distance it's too much, ganon. But I think that's just a lame excuse.
For
Right?
some people, it can. For some people, it really matters for them to be together. I think it also depends on, is the long distance situation temporary? Is that going to be just how the relationship is? So it depends on the people. For some people, they need their partners to be there talaga just because that's how they are. So, yeah. But also, ang dami ng tools ngayon na wala dati. So, generational gap is also there because they didn't have Zoom before. They didn't have a lot of these things before that we get to use at our disposal.
Okay, so we'll be back after this commercial break.
And this break is brought to you by Meralco, ang liwanag ng bukas. SM, we've got it all for you. Union Bank, it starts with you.
Usapang OFW is the show that honors the journeys of our modern day heroes, our OFWs. Join Chingmi Fernandez, John Dodson, and Rafi Ayang every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. to hear the real stories behind the sacrifices. Watch it live on Daily Tribun's Facebook page, Tribune Now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok. Want to hear from thought leaders shaping our world? Straight Talk with Chito Lazada and Ted Montelibano dives into leadership, politics, and business every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Catch conversation live on Daily Tribune's Facebook page, Tribune Now on YouTube, and Daily Tribune Official on TikTok.
Welcome back to Pairfect. You're still here with me, Eliana Lacap, on behalf of Miss Dina Ventura, and we're still here with our relationship and life coach. So we're back. Okay, so moving
Hi.
on. Yeah, so with online dating on the rise, how does it compare to meeting someone organically? Are there unique advantages or challenges in each approach?
So with online dating, everything is faster. So you get to meet a lot more people, but at the same time, you also get rejected a lot faster
Oh.
than before. So everything, all of the experiences in dating would be expedited, both the good and the bad. But also, it's convenient. It's easier to screen people that you don't really maybe want to get to know on a deeper level, or you get to curate the kind of people that you would like to talk to. So there's a lot more control there. But also because people can use these tools, these dating apps in a different way. You can also get scammed a lot easier. You can get catfished a lot easier as well. So those are some of the common pros and cons with online dating compared to meeting someone organically where you know who they are, or at least you get to see them in person immediately. And you oftentimes you would interact with them and see how they're like, because sometimes when you meet someone online, they're a little bit different in person compared to how they appear to be online. So you don't really experience much of that when you are meeting someone organically. But also at the same time, it requires a lot more upfront courage and confidence to just go out and go up to someone compared to sending a message on an app or just on a group somewhere. And often it requires existing social connections for it to happen. So kung wala kang friends to introduce you to another person, if you don't really go out much, this is really challenging for a lot of people. And for example, if you're not in school anymore, you're working at home, a lot of modern day situations make meeting people organically just really, really challenging. So kaya rin nagiging popular yung online dating kasi mas tailored siya to the kind of lifestyle that a lot of people would have right now. At the same time, konti rin yung mga third spaces for people to just actually go to. So a lot of people just don't really go out. So they don't really have the opportunity to meet people organically. So yun yung nakikita kong common, I guess, differences and pros and cons for online dating and meeting someone organically. And also at the same time, slower pace yung meeting someone organically compared to online dating.
Very on the rise yung parang, sana magkaroon ako ng organic encounter, ganon. Like, people, I think nowadays, I think are shifting from like, online dating to like more organic encounter because I think they feel na
Mm.
sometimes the connection with online dating is not something's wrong with it, I think. Na
It's
some
dry a lot of
yeah,
times.
like sometimes
Yeah.
they would show their foot forward for like a whole time and then drop the act once you yeah, sometimes they're
Mm-mm.
like that, right? So sometimes people right now, I think
Mm-mm.
that's what I'm seeing, no. Like organic
Mm-mm.
encounter is on the rise because of yun nga what you've said, like the human connection is different when it's
Mm.
more organic other than online
Mm.
dating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and online dating is also tiring. So I think a lot of people just get tired of sending out so many messages for it to not be replied to, for it to be dry. So I guess too much of something on the rise would lead to looking at the opposite end of the spectrum and for people to explore that.
That is true. Okay. So moving on, communication is key in relationships. What are some common mistakes people make that can strain their connection and how can they improve?
The one of the most common things I notice is expecting your partner to just know or to just read your mind. So people don't communicate at all because they think, dapat alam na niya to, or the right one wouldn't need me to tell them. So that's a very common mindset to have. And to an extent, it feels good for your partner to just take care of you. But at the same time, you don't come with a manual and you need to teach another person what you would like, what's important to you. So it's still up to you to take the initiative to communicate instead of waiting for something to happen because then you'll just be disappointed. And another thing that happens in relationships when they're communicating is focusing on responding instead of listening and understanding. So hindi mo naman talaga naiintindihan yung partner mo or kung ano yung nangyayari kasi tinitignan mo kung paano mo ide-defend yung sarili mo, kung paano mo explain yung side mo without really fully understanding what your partner is going through. So it means you need to really step into what your partner is experiencing and be there for them ex- before focusing on what you would need. So it's a bit of give and take there. At the same time, I think communication is just hard in relationships. A lot of times, what we need to talk about is not innate. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. And just because it's hard doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that the relationship is bad or not meant to be. It's just that, like any skill, communication needs practice and learning time. So that's something that a lot of people need to learn and to accept na kailangan may practice talaga. And you're not gonna get it right all the time, but what's important is that you keep trying.
Yeah, so like communication is very vital, but it can like kahit hindi
Mm-mm.
siya kung nga hindi siya masyadong parang pina-practice, pero parang kailangan talaga siya, no? Kasi hindi ka talaga syempre
Mm-mm.
pwedeng basahin na lang ng partner mo. Like, hindi ka naman parang open book or wala kang talagang manual. You don't come with a
Mm,
manual so they wouldn't know. Tama naman, yeah, right.
mm.
So, why do you think there are people who find it difficult to communicate their feelings?
Well, in Filipino society, we're not really encouraged to do that. I mean, at home. So, for example, the question you asked, right? How does family dynamics shape our experience in love? If you express your feelings, sisiguan ka ng mom mo kasi nakikita na nasumbat yun. You're not gonna express your feelings in your relationships either. So, it's also taking a look at, was it encouraged for you to communicate properly? Were you taught how to express your needs in a healthy way? Or did you need to throw a tantrum for you to get any amount of attention or affection from your parents? So it's not something that is easy for a lot of people because I don't think a lot of people had the tools to actually learn what communication is, and not a lot of people, or rather a lot of people didn't have the safe space to practice it either. So that I think that also contributes to why a lot of people can't communicate properly as well.
I believe ngayon na nga rin, anhin ko na, family dynamics also play a huge part in communication.
Mm-mm.
Because yun nga, kinalakihan mo na yung, pag sinabihan ka na yun, huwag ka masyadong mag-tantrums or you can't communicate your feelings properly, it won't translate well. So, it really takes practice, no?
Mm-mm.
And learning.
Yeah. Mm-mm. And
Tama.
risking being wrong. A lot of people are scared of saying the wrong thing, so they don't say anything at all. And that's not gonna lead anywhere in the man.
You have to make wrongs to make rights, I think that's right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah, I think so also. Okay, moving on. So many people struggle with balancing self-love and loving someone else. How do you advise individuals to maintain personal boundaries while nurturing a relationship?
You have to care about yourself, and you have to see yourself as equal to your partner and equal to the relationship. So I tell this to a lot of my clients that your relationship shouldn't come at the cost of yourself, of your values and of your needs. So you need to honor who you are. And this isn't the same as hindi ako marunong mag-communicate and this is who I am, no? Kasi we want to separate personal values and core personhood from skills. So that's not what I'm talking about here. This would mean what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel happy, what brings you joy, what makes you sad. You have to honor that these are the things that make you you. And if there are moments in the relationship na you don't feel safe or you feel like hindi napaprioritize yung feelings mo, you would need to acknowledge that and not just sacrifice your experience to make the relationship work. And a major part of that is learning how to say no, learning to correct your partner on what's not okay and what would be a better experience for you. And also, deep down, accept and eventually appreciate the differences between you and your partner and embracing what makes you unique, what makes your partner unique, so that you have the sense of self that can coexist with the health of your relationship.
Yeah, because if you try to bend over backwards just for somebody and then losing yourself in the process is not a nice sight because you're
No.
yeah, right? It's not good for you mentally also, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because
It's not sustainable.
I've kind of did that at one point, and
Oh no.
it's not pretty. It's not
Hopefully you're
nice.
at a different place
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I'm a bit happier now. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it's because you're trying to fit where it doesn't anymore, right? Because I
Mm-mm.
think but dapat you have to step away or learn to just acknowledge it and just free yourself is the right term from the
Mm-mm.
situation, right?
Yeah, I think that should be the case. I mean, you can't expect a fish to thrive on land. So if you can thrive somewhere else and if you're not being appreciated for who you are in the relationship that you're in, then that's just not the environment for you. That's not the right relationship for you.
That's right. Okay. So, for couples experiencing conflict, how can love languages or understanding personality differences help resolve the issues?
So when there's conflict in a relationship, there's this gap that would come from that conflict. So you would feel disconnected from your partner, things would be really tense. Love languages or speaking each other's love language would make the other person feel more loved and understood. So it closes that gap. So you can be at a place where you're able to fix more of what's going on instead of creating more distance between you and your partner. It's also a way to get through to them and reminding your partner that it's you and your partner versus the problem instead of the problem being you versus your partner. So it makes you feel more like a team, more like you are there for each other kahit na may ongoing conflict. And understanding personality differences, first and foremost, would allow you to see things from the perspective of your partner. So going back to another question of communication, right? Do you listen to your partner? Do you start to understand kung bakit ganun yung pananaw nila, why they didn't agree in the first place, why the conflict happened in the first place? You're not going to really fully understand that unless you know where your partner is coming from, ano bang personality nila that would be relevant to the problem being there to begin with. So that's an important part. And then once you understand that and you know the patterns of your partner, it's good to work with those patterns instead of against them. So for example, kung yung partner mo sensitive sa words, instead of making them be less sensitive, you have to soften your language and your tone so that you are working with where they're at. So it's actively meeting your partner where they're at. And so knowing, using the concept of a manual, right? Kung alam mo yung partner mo may certain needs, certain things work with them, use those. Go with those methods instead of forcing what you think would work or what you think is better. Kahit naman hindi yun yung yun yung tama para sa partner mo. So that, I think, is what it means to use the personality differences to resolve the issues.
Do you think conflicts really strengthen relationships over time?
I think so. I think so. I think there's so much you get to learn in conflict that you don't get to learn anywhere else. And this is something that is a little bit painful to learn, no? Kasi hindi naman komportable makipag-away. But this is where we see people's vulnerabilities. This is where we see what hurts a lot of people, how you can avoid that. And ang dali kasi mawala sa saya ng relationship. Pero hindi lang naman laging masaya yung relationships. So, needing to accept that conflict is gonna be there and learning how to make conflict be this educational experience and this opportunity to be closer with your partner is something that you really need to get to that point with someone. Kung hindi mo yun kayang gawin, it's either the relationship is not gonna work out or maybe there's still a lot of learning to do before you are ready to commit to a long-term relationship because it will happen and it's up to you if you're gonna make it work for you or not.
Because people nowadays, like, once they fight, they deem it as something bad in a relationship,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. I think it also depends on the nature of the fight because for some people, like kunyari with cheating, they cheated and that's the deal breaker for them. Then, that makes sense. That's how that person would operate. Pero kung nagkamali lang or may hindi lang nagawa, tapos yun na yun. Like, I think there are certain levels, certain conflicts that would mean different things in the context of a relationship.
So, finally, what advice would you give to someone who's hesitant about dating or feels discouraged by past heartbreaks?
There's someone for everyone. This is something that is so apparent in my line of work that might not have been apparent for people who are just dating. Because when you experience a lot of rejection, a lot of things not working out, you would think na, walang para sa akin. Like, I'm destined to be alone. But that's not true. There's so many people who would find partners in unlikely situations and people who they didn't expect to be with, and it's a good relationship. And I really think that there is a crowd for whatever kind of person you are. You just have to find your people. You need to find your group. And there's also no time limit. A lot of people would feel like they need to be in a long lasting relationship by their 20s or by their 30s, and that's not true. That only that only leads to a lot of pressure that would make you feel more scared, make you feel more stressed. So it's good to not rush through things. You also don't need to change who you are just to find a relationship. So yeah, no pressure to be anyone other than yourself, and there's no pressure to find your person right away. So taking it easy is going to be really important.
Yeah, so it's very important that that you wouldn't give up on love because there will always be a person
Mm.
for you waiting that it's not like, yes, sure, you're facing heartbreaks, but those heartbreaks will lead you somewhere, right?
It leads you to the right door, the doors that close. I have a lot of clients who would find their best relationship in their 40s after two failed marriages, things like that. So it's out there. You just need to believe in yourself and not lose hope for yourself.
That's actually nice because I think a lot of people get discouraged once they get hurt over and over and over again. And I mean, yeah, it is
Mm-mm.
kind of discouraging, but believing that there is a certain type of person out there for you is gonna give you hope, right? Yeah.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And
So
also giving yourself time to rest.
Also, yeah, like giving that time to love yourself and kind of
Mm-hmm.
either improve yourself or heal is also a different kind of thing. So when you're ready to meet the next, it's an ano, I can't put the words into my mouth.
You're ready for
Yeah, you're
that
ready.
next and better relationship.
Yes, right. Okay, so do you have any parting words, Sockmed handles? Where can we contact you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. It's Alicia Serrano Coaching. So I know that in February, there's a lot of focus on relationships and love. And I just want to remind people that there's more to love than just being in a committed romantic relationship. So you can show your love to yourself, to your family members, to your friends. So don't feel limited if you are single or if things aren't working out for you in your dating experience. That's okay. And if you have any concerns, anything that you'd like support with, don't hesitate to reach out. I also have a website where you can book coaching sessions with me. So that's also an option for you if you want to work on something.
Okay, that was an enlightening conversation with Miss Alicia Serrano that reminds us that love isn't just about romance, but also understanding, communication, and self awareness. Thank you, Miss Alicia, for joining us on Perfect. And don't forget to follow Daily Tribune for more heartfelt conversations that inspire personal growth and meaningful connections. Until next time, I'm Eliana Lacap on behalf of Miss Dina Ventura, and this has been Perfect, where every story connects perfectly. Happy Valentine's Day mga katribu!
Happy New Year at magandang araw po sa inyong lahat mga katribo. Nandito po ulit ang inyong lingkod, Manong Joe Saldariaga, para sagutin ang inyong katanungan. May tanong po tayo mula kay netizen Amor Amores tungkol sa rates ng Meralco ngayong buwan ng Enero. Salamat naman sa good news sa bagong taon. Sana pababa sa mga susunod na buwan. Bakit bumaba pala ang rate? Yun ang tanong ni Amor. No? Salamat sa tanong mo, Amor. Well, Amor, tama ka dyan. Meron na namang bawas singil sa kuryente ngayong buwan ng Enero. Bumaba yung rate ng Meralco, overall rate ng Meralco ng 16 centavos kada kilowatt hour. So, nangangahulugan para sa isang karaniwang tahanan na may konsuman na 200 kilowatt hour kada buwan. Katumbas po ito ng higit kumulang 33 piso o 33 pesos na bawas sa electric bill nyo ngayong buwan. Ang pagbaba ng singil ay dulot ng reduction sa transmission charge, bunsod ng lower ancillary service charges ng National Grid Corporation of the Philippines o NGCP. Mas bumuti rin po yung ating supply situation sa Luzon kaya bumaba ang singil mula sa wholesale electricity spot market o WESM na dahilan ng reduction naman sa ilang bahagi ng generation charge. Meron ding bawas sa buwis at iba pang singil na nakatulong para mapanatiling mababa ang overall rate. Magandang balita po ito bilang panimula ng 2026. Hopefully, mas magaan sa bulsa ng pamilyang Pilipino. Ako po ang inyong lingkod, si Manong Joe Saldariaga. Asahan nyo na patuloy akong maghahatid ng malinaw at tamang impormasyon para sa lahat ng ating mga katribo.